The hull groaned as the steel prow bit into the frozen crust of the Southern Ocean. It was 1938, and the German expedition vessel pushed deeper into the white void of Neuschwabenland than any map dared to record. The air was sharp, biting, and thick with the scent of ancient, trapped gases released by the grinding ice. On the bridge, the crew worked with a frantic, silent precision. They were not here for trade routes or territorial claims. They were here for the rumors. The sonar pinged against the seafloor, returning echoes that defied the logic of natural rock formations. The captain watched the readings, his fingers tracing the jagged lines on the charts. They were searching for base 211, a sanctuary whispered about in the dark corners of occult societies. As the ship crested a massive ridge of ice, the instruments spiked. A rhythmic, metallic resonance hummed through the deck plates, vibrating deep into the bones of the men on board. The mapping was a facade. The true mission was to unearth the knowledge buried beneath the permafrost. They had found the threshold. Now, they had to break the seal of a secret that had remained undisturbed for millennia. By 1946, the world had shifted, but the Antarctic remained a locked vault. Admiral Richard Byrd arrived at the head of a massive American naval armada, a force designed to dominate the frozen expanse. Officially, it was a training exercise, a display of post-war industrial might. The ships cut through the southern swells, their radar arrays sweeping the horizon. Then, the mission fractured. Reports described objects moving at speeds that defied aerodynamic laws, darting with silent, lethal grace. Byrd watched from the bridge as his tactical displays went dark, overwhelmed by a signal interference that felt like a deliberate warning. The order came down the line: abort. The retreat was not a tactical withdrawal, it was a rout. Ships turned back months ahead of schedule, the crews silent, their logs scrubbed of the true events. Byrd returned to a world that demanded answers he could not give, leaving the frozen plains to guard their secrets. The focus shifted from the frozen earth to the infinite sky. By the time Operation Fishbowl began, the military had abandoned the search for surface bases in favor of a more desperate objective. High-altitude nuclear warheads were launched into the thin, freezing air of the upper atmosphere. Each detonation was a blinding, artificial sun intended to pierce the veil of the heavens. From the ground, the sky did not just light up, it fractured. The shock waves rippled outward, hitting an unseen resistance that defied the laws of vacuum. Skeptics watched the footage and saw the truth. These were not weapons tests. They were hammer blows against a cage. The atmosphere pulsed with a rhythmic, geometric distortion as the radiation collided with something solid, something that should not have been there. It was a firmament, a celestial shield enclosing the world. The military logs recorded the tests as failures, but the visual data told a different story. The sky had been struck, and for a fraction of a second, the barrier shimmered, revealing the edge of the cage. Humanity was not looking for a lost civilization anymore. They were trying to break out of a prison that had been sealed since the dawn of time. The sky remained silent, but the Earth began to reveal its own impossible geometry. Modern satellite imagery, stripped of its classified filters, started showing the world what the ice had been hiding. In the heart of the restricted zones, where no civilian has ever set foot, the landscape defies the logic of nature. Massive, pyramid-like structures rise from the frozen plains, their edges perfectly aligned with cardinal points that suggest a design, not a formation. These are not mountains. They are too sharp, too symmetrical, and too vast to be the result of tectonic drift. When the raw data hits the screens of analysts, the initial reaction is disbelief, followed by a cold, creeping dread. They pulse with a low-frequency thermal signature that suggests they are still active, drawing power from the deep crust of the continent. The imagery is clear. These are artificial constructs, buried for eons and now exposed by the shifting ice. The Antarctic Treaty is not a pact of cooperation, it is a wall of silence. While the world debates climate change and scientific discovery, military forces maintain a constant, unblinking watch over the frozen plains. Every flight path is restricted. Every expedition is monitored. The ice continues to shift, exposing more of the geometric truth. but the international community ensures that no eyes remain fixed on the anomalies for long. The presence of heavy equipment and signal jammers is not for research, but for containment. We are being kept at a distance, steered away from the edge of our own world. Antarctica is not merely a continent of ice and rock. It is a guarded boundary, a threshold designed to keep us contained within a reality we do not fully understand. We are not explorers anymore. We are prisoners, and the continent is the lock on the door that we are not yet permitted to open.